Good morning and welcome to the Seminole County Board of County Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. If you would take a moment and please silence your cell phones, any other electronic devices that you may have. We will start with the invocation by Mr. Shane Cahoot from Metro Life Church, and then we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Gracious God, we thank you this morning for the many good gifts that you have given us. But in particular, we thank you for the gift to serve other people. We ask that you would bless the many people in their vocations represented in this room today. And would each one of them feel your pleasure upon them as they serve. Bless them as they make decisions today. From the decisions that feel incredibly mundane to the ones that feel weighty, would you grant them wisdom, clarity, and compassion, so that the decisions in this room would be just decisions and ones that reflect your righteousness. We lift up before you today Seminole County, a place that we love, and we ask that every person in our county would flourish. As people go about their day, would truth, beauty, and goodness be reflected throughout our cities? I ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We sincerely appreciate you being here today to lead us in the invocation. Thank you. Enjoy your day. I want to take a moment and recognize Ms. Sarah Baker from the City of Winter Springs, Commissioner. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here with us today. Hope we don't keep you too long. I hope we don't bore you to death. We may get through this more efficiently than you typically do, but that's a whole nother discussion. All right, we're going to move into our awards and presentations. We're going to switch it up here just a little bit. We've got our legislative update, Mr. Oscar Anderson, Kaylee Slattery from the Southern Group. But before we get into that, I want to announce an award that our PIO team has recently received. We want to take a moment to share some good news about the outstanding work being done by our Office of Communications. Last week, they brought home several top honors at the Florida Public Relations Association Golden Image Awards. In addition to being recognized for their work to outreach campaigns and graphic design, they were named Government Team of the Year, a statewide honor. These aren't just trophies in a case. They show the value of having an internal full-service public relations team. We're not outsourcing our voice. Our team is telling Seminole County's story directly and each and every day. On behalf of the board, I want to take a moment and thank the communications team for their dedication and results. Thank you all very much for all the hard work you do. And let's grab a photo real quick for y'all.
I think we did good about that.
All right, now we will go to Mr. Anderson and Ms. Slattery from the Southern Group. This will be our legislative update. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing?
Well, we're hoping you're going to tell us.
Kaylee Slattery, Oscar Anderson from the Southern Group. We just wanted to kick it off and say thank you for just letting us represent you in Tallahassee. We always have a great time whenever you visit, whenever we take you guys out and to meetings, and we are very happy to be here. So, session. This was a little bit of a wacky session. It was 104 out of 60 days. And that's just really the tip of the iceberg with what happened. So, I don't have it. Thank you. These are just a few session stats. This is actually, there were more bills filed this session than the past session, but less that passed both chambers. And then 246 were signed into law. I think the governor has vetoed, what's that number, 23? We did have a smaller budget this session, just because negotiations took a lot longer than I think anybody expected. So we ended the session with a $115.1 billion budget with $15.7 billion in reserves. And if you can see the third paragraph, DeSantis actually exercised a lot more of his veto power than we were expecting. And this is actually a record for how much of the budget he vetoed. But the good news, Seminole County Hour Project was fully funded at $1.5 million. That was a huge win for us, for Seminole County, for everyone. And then we'll go through a couple just little pots of money within the budget that were funded. And again, $115.1 billion budget with $15.7 billion in reserve funding. The SHIP program was pretty healthy this year. The Small County Outreach Program and the Ready to Work Credential Program were, I believe, funded more than they were last year. And then you have the cybersecurity grant fund too. And continuing with budget, Notably, Visit Florida was funded at its exact amount it was last year, and that was not cut this year, which was kind of surprising given all of the conversations around TDT and DMOs. And then the Job Grant Growth Fund was also funded at the same level as last year. And then we've got a couple other environmental funds that saw a lot of money being put into them. All right,
You take over?
that's you.
Good morning. I guess I get to talk about the bills. So there are obviously a lot of bills passed. This is a few highlights. We'll answer questions if there's a specific one that's not on our list of things we thought were relevant. Obviously, I think you've all heard about Senate Bill 180, the Emergency Preparedness and Response Bill. When this was filed, I jokingly referred to it as the Death Star. It was an act relating to emergencies. Everything's an emergency. And it had everything in it. It had election stuff in it. It had everything when it started. Obviously, the very end of session, they put some language in there. It was some repeat language, actually, from 2023 about land use stuff that I'm sure you all are well aware about and happy to talk about when we get to questions. Bonuses for employees and property appraisers out of Brevard County. I guess the Brevard County property appraiser was pushing for this. That's the same thing that's allowed for tax collectors right now. They just added property appraisers, their ability to give bonuses. It's kind of a short bill, but could be relevant. 1730, the Affordable Housing Bill. This is Live Local Act 3.0. The main things that it did as it relates to Seminole County are one, well, generally it expanded the definition of commercial and mixed use, or defined them actually, instead of being a specific title. And it basically, if it walks like a duck, it is a duck. And then the other thing we did is we did get the exemption in there for the Wekiva Protection Area, which was a big thing. So we were happy to have that happen. The DAX bill, our Florida Farm Bill passed, a big deal. Wanted to talk about that. There were some issues in there from last session that were standalone bills that got put all together in that bill, specifically about agriculture workers and the ability to build housing for them. And then there was the prohibition against fluoride use, which was the kind of the hot part of that bill in public water systems. Local land use regulation, there were a lot of bills that were filed and didn't pass. Senate Bill 1118, I think we all probably talked about that at some point. The only one that passed really was Senate Bill 1080, and that just really did some new time frames and kind of tightened up the process. It didn't have anything over crazy in there. The one thing it did have that was fairly contentious was the extraordinary circumstances for impact fees and what that definition, they spent all session arguing over, we did too, what the definition should be for extraordinary circumstances from a local government perspective with the home builders. And they ended up just with, in order to invoke extraordinary circumstances, you have to have a unanimous consent of the commission. So that's how you tap into that from an impact fee perspective. Interestingly, and we hadn't thought, I don't think anybody thought about this during session, the language at the end of Senate Bill 180, and there's a few counties that are running this now that had raised impact fees, and whether that runs afoul of the language that showed up at the end of Senate Bill 180. It's become a real conversation around the state. The plating bill, there were a few counties that were really not Seminole, but were given some big developer home builders some real fits on plating, so they basically made it an administrative process. Ironically, I think the enactment date was July 1st, which nobody could get it in place by then, so we're all going to be kind of in violation of the law until you figure out your process there. Key legislation that failed, she made reference to TDT funding. It was a big conversation. It kind of covered two pieces. One, they tried to limit the amount of time you could bond, so you basically couldn't bond TDT funding. And then the other piece was there was a House proposal to kind of basically use it to offset property taxes. That was alive all the way to the end in the tax package. We didn't really know how the TDT thing was going to land. We were all constantly engaged in that conversation. I don't think that's going to go away from the property tax conversation in general. Term limits on county commissioners, school districts, all of these issues, by the way, unfailed. I put them up here because I think we're going to see them all again next year, for sure. I assume that'll come back up again. Suits against government, sovereign immunity, we've heard this for several years. They've tried to increase those rates. It failed. And then the CRA bill, which was really, really controversial this year, and there was a lot of effort in there to try to stop that. I don't think that's going to go away either. There's a philosophical issue with that in the House. And so this was really extreme. But I don't know where you find a middle ground. So we'll have to see how that plays out this year. The local governments in general are going to be on defense like crazy this year between property taxes and everything else. So the tax package, had a little bit of affordable housing stuff in there, nothing really revolutionary. Obviously repealed the business rent tax permanently, which was a big deal for the business community and the realtors. Made the back to school tax permanent, which, every year they had to reauthorize it, and made it permanent, which is great. And then it continued the, whatever they call that, the go outdoors tax or whatever, the hunting, fishing, camping equipment tax. It did have a study in there for EDR to come back with property tax recommendations and do a study by November 1st. So as we know, there's going to be a lot of conversation over the next, 4 months, because the session goes in January about property taxes. This is the House, the House created this select committee on property taxes. Last time I spoke with one of the chairs, he said that they're going to have a big meeting in Tallahassee, kind of the third week of September. They had originally planned to go all around the state, but they were having scheduling and sunshine challenges with that. So they're going to have a big meeting there. The counties have given them a bunch of information, I think as of August 1st, the association did on behalf of all the counties. And so these were the first proposals. There's even more things than that. One of the pieces that hasn't been talked about a whole lot, but I think will be brought up as we go through this conversation, is sort of administrative changes. All the property appraisers, a lot of them use different methodologies and things, and trying to kind of simplify some of that. Some of the portability issues, sometimes it's taking like 3 years for people to get credit for portability when they move to a different county. So there's some administrative stuff that I think we'll see as well. My guess is there'll be a handful of bills that deal with administrative stuff and whatever they can do legislatively, as well as a larger HJR, which will be a constitutional amendment for the ballot in November, in 26. You want to talk about other issues?
Sure, yeah.
So as he alluded to, there's going to be a lot of continuation of a lot of issues that happened last session. TDT, obviously property tax, CRA stuff. So everything that was on that slide that failed is probably what we're going to see again. Term limits, all of the things. I'm going to tread really lightly as I talk about the relationship with the governor, the Senate president, and the House Speaker, because I think we all know how that is right now. I don't know if we're going to see, the summer might have given everyone a little bit of time to kind of back away. Maybe we come to Tallahassee again, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. I doubt it. So that we're navigating that relationship is going to be quite tough. You have the end of the Senate president's term, the House Speaker's term, and the governor's term. So all bets are off, nothing to lose. It'll be fun. And then, of course, as you've been seeing in the news, and probably will see in the news forever and ever, the DOGE efforts and how they're going to continue to ramp up DOGE in every way possible. With the DOGE camp, we've heard kind of rumblings, and this was actually confirmed on Twitter by our new CFO, Blaise Ingloya himself, that he's looking at doing a local government assessment score, almost like a school district gets a grade. Once you're DOGE'd, you might get a grade. That's up in the air. That's an option. Be on the lookout for that. And then 2026 campaigns, and we've got the governor's race. We've got plenty of House and Senate seats. Midterms are going to be huge, so that will be very relevant in the scheme of Tallahassee this year. And then these are our committee weeks are coming up. They start the first week of October. Session starts on January 13th. Big deadline for us is that appropriations project request form, but we've got plenty of time, obviously, and we'll work with staff to get everything done and answered. All right.
Great.
Bring them.
Any questions?
Okay, great, thanks.
Wow. Seeing Commissioner Lockhart, we'll start at your end and move across.
Okay, so just something that you mentioned piqued my curiosity. You mentioned about the property appraisers being able to give bonuses. Are there other constitutional officers that are permitted by law to give bonuses?
I don't know the answer to that. The legislation The statute they were amending was only for tax collectors, and they just added property appraisers. So I don't really know the answer to that.
Okay.
I'm happy to look into that. I don't
If
really
you
know.
would, because I think we are not permitted. And I know that some of the conversation with the sheriff about statewide competition has been that some sheriff's departments are offering signing bonuses. And so I'm curious where everybody, all of our constitutionals and what's the groundwork?
We can get that.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Constantine.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys. Most lobby firms, like yourself, represent local government and others. But almost every single bill that you pointed out and every single bill that's coming down the line is anti-local government and taking away local control, even though we all know that if you take any poll, everybody trusts local government a lot more than state government, a lot more than federal government. We all understand this is about power and control. But I don't see any of the big lobby firms coming out against any of this. Do we have a strategy? And I'm talking specifically about 180, I'm talking about Live Local. There are some good aspects of Live Local, but giving away, tax breaks for 120% of your average income, which in Seminole County would be $90,000. So you're looking at basically rate it's non-sustainable. What is the strategy?
You want me to take that?
You need to take it because you were
Yes, we did.
I know, I got it, yeah. So I talk to Davin all the time in the Association of Counties. We've got to figure out a fix to 180. Everybody knows that. And he's kind of tasked me to try to help
I
him
know he's
resolve
working
it.
hard on
Oh, I know, yeah, and that's why I talk to him all the time. So I don't know what that's going to look like. As I indicated, it's the same language that passed in 2023, just for a few counties down in Southwest Florida. And so that's when everybody's like, well, the governor's going to veto it over. I'm like, no, he's not. He's already approved it from 2023. Like, it would be odd for him to veto it for that reason. There were other parts of the bill he may veto it over, but for that reason, he's already approved it. Because of the way that they use the 3 federally declared disasters, it hit, I think, 66 of the 67 counties. So it really
We're still under it.
It's basically statewide. And there's language in the front of the bill that talks about going forward. So you might get out for 1 year, and then a hurricane shows up, and you're back in it for another year. So we got to figure out some workarounds. There are some communities like Santa Rosa County that had their EAR update, which is the standard comprehensive plan update you have to do as a local government, and they got caught up in that. And this was just their big EAR update. And like the home builders were part of that process. It wasn't like it was a process they did on their own. There were more restrictive things in there because when a community updates its comp plan, you change things, you move growth patterns around, and in some area may be more restrictive, some area not. And if there's one restrictive thing in there, at least the way the Department of Commerce seems to be interpreting it, then the whole thing gets thrown out. That's what happened with Orange County with Vision 2050. There's some other counties that are, Manatee County is doing some other stuff. So there's we got to figure out some workarounds around it, for sure. And the definition of development permitting that they refer to in 163 is really, it's everything. So you make any change to like a variance process that's more restrictive, theoretically it could be thrown out under 180. So we know we have to fix that without question. And we all got to wrestle with that. The problem with Davin, of course, is he's also got to deal with property tax reform and everything else. So he's got a lot on his plate, and so we're going to help him as much as we can. We all know how bad that is. Live Local, as long as Senator Pasadomo's there, it's going to be hard to undo a lot of it. I think the local governments were obviously very frustrated with the process at the beginning. Not Seminole County, but a lot of other counties got really kind of cute in how they avoided it. And it's a larger problem, by the way, Senator Constantine, and you'll appreciate this because we don't have a resolution to conflicts between the development industry and local governments right now. We used to. DCA had a process, went back and forth. Everybody sort of got used to that process. When they got rid of DCA, the only avenue developers have is to go to Tallahassee and change legislation. And it's very far-reaching and draconian and have nothing to do with your community, but can impact your community. So it's a problem. And Davin and I have talked about it now for 1.5 years, and no one has a real answer other than nobody wants to recreate DCA. We're open to ideas.
Well, since you did mention a little bit, I just, it was in working with both the Senate and the House in trying to get that exemption for Wekiva as well as the Everglades. And I want to thank you for your help in that. It's still, you can get little things done. But the fact of the matter is even then, it's a very difficult process because none of them seem to understand local government. And the process today is, again, their first act is to take away, control, power, whatever you want to call it, from local government. And I'm going to throw out a Doge because I think that is just draconian in its thought process, especially when the state government is spending more money on, what do they call it, Everglades Alcatraz or Alligator Alcatraz than our entire general budget of Seminole County. And so, it's frustrating to even consider something like that. And I just don't see the outrage from, I see it from, Association Counties, League of Cities, but I don't see it from those lobbyists that represent local government. And I'd like to see more of that. Just outrage of what they're doing and how they're doing it to local government. It doesn't make sense, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, understood.
I'm done.
Do you want to respond to that, Commissioner Lockhart? You had your hand before I go to Commissioner Delory.
Well, just a little bit. My Commissioner Herr is shaking her head. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No,
want to respond.
I'm happy to address that as you're coming down.
So all I would say philosophically, and I cannot believe that I'm about to defend the big lobbying firms because that has never been my role. But I think we rely on different approaches to move the needle on different things. And if we're all outraged all the time, then there's no voice that is able to be in the room that is listened to, because outrage typically makes people tune out. And while I understand certainly where you're coming from, I have never had a good result from walking into a legislator's office outraged about anything.
It might be the
So,
wrong word. It might be
okay.
the wrong word, but
I wanted to just make sure that, there's different,
yeah, I wanted
we
to
have to
get
have
across
all-
to Oscar. Oscar and I have a long history.
well, you got it across to everybody watching. So I just wanted to make sure that there's some
Well-
balance to the approach.
And lobby firms get paid a lot of money, and I respect what they do. But it's not all the time. I haven't heard it at all.
Commissioner Delory?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, Lee, I can appreciate your concern, and I also appreciate Commissioner Lockhart's trying to redefine the right definition, because I think that's the right way to do it. And maybe the word to use is level of concern instead of outrage. But I don't know what the right verb or adjective should be, but there is one. But I want to thank you all for the hard work you've done. It's important to have people up there in Tallahassee that not only understand the system, but also understands Seminole County. And I think you all do a wonderful job at doing that, so thank you. The question that I have is, you mentioned that next year may be the year where they'll be looking at cities and counties and giving them a grade, you said. What would be the metrics that they'll be looking at? Is there any hint or any idea what that metrics would be? And as a follow-up question would be, would they be willing to do that to themselves?
The grade idea would be in reference to the Doge efforts that
Okay.
they make within the county. So depending on how far along the county is in that process, I imagine, this is just conjecture, but I imagine the criteria will be how responsibly have you spent taxpayer dollars? How many keywords are within your different comp plans, land, whatever have you, any public-facing document, and how well do you comply with having the threat of an audit, and
Okay.
how willing are you to share with the state my databases and, my documents, stuff like
Okay.
that. That's what I imagine.
I just want clarification on it.
I guarantee you won't be friendly.
Well, that's encouraging, Oscar. I'd rather look at,
I mean, I can't imagine it would be, given the current environment up there.
thank you, Oscar, for your,
And no, they probably won't give themselves a grade.
so Oscar, thank you for your vote of encouragement.
Yeah, you're welcome, yeah.
Commissioner Herr.
I absolutely think the idea of doging the counties is fabulous. Do it, score it, tell us how we win, we will win. And quite honestly, we ought to do it to all the constitutional officers and everybody that spends taxpayer money. I think it will evolve over time and become better. The first time you ever score anything, there's fault within the program, and then you provide feedback and you learn from it, and everybody grows by those things that are measured and reported. I've said that 1,000 times. So I can't get on board, and whether the state doges themselves or not, that's a whole separate question, and it doesn't matter to me, because we still spend our taxpayer money, and we should be accountable. So I'm a fan, score it. I am less outraged. I am also not the person that spends a lot of time in Tallahassee. Concerned, maybe. Here's the end result from my perspective is that if we have you up there representing us and the Association of Counties representing us, we do the best work we can possibly do, and then it's incumbent upon us to respond appropriately to whatever it is the state does. They're not doing things for no reason. They're doing things because somebody caused a problem somewhere in the 67 counties where they did something goofy, and now we're reacting to it on a broad brush basis. And sometimes that's required. And then it settles back down. I think it's more our responsibility to respond appropriately and to be proactive about our planning around the things that they're thinking about. I think that's how government works. I would rather spend less time on that, on the outrage. I still think we need to do all the work that we're doing in lobbying, and I applaud the folks that are doing that on our behalf. I think where I come in is that we need to be responsible locally to accommodate whatever happens.
Well, thank you all for being here. I would just note, if you go to that first slide, what percentage of reserves the state government is keeping in reserves compared to their overall budget.
One more.
$115 million,
B.
a billion, I'm sorry.
Billion.
And the reserves are,
15 billion. This year.
That's
I don't know
this
whether-
year,
that's
not
not
their
the total.
total.
That's not the total.
Right,
That's how much they
just
put in
this year.
yeah.
exactly.
It's not the total number.
Yeah, I got it. It's total for this budget session.
Correct.
Got it. All I would say is, the Doge efforts, financially, I think it's a great idea. We are the stewards of taxpayers' dollars. But I would also say it's a slippery slope, depending on who's running the shout in Tallahassee. Because there may come a time where there's a Doge effort that says, you don't have enough libraries in your community. You don't have enough social activities in your community. So I think although some things appear to be good and appropriate, I think we do need to be responsible for taxpayers' dollars and how they're expended. But we've got to be real careful how we go about this. And we all know there's bad actors, throughout the state, and we all do get clumped up with other bad actors. But I will tell you, echoing some of what Commissioner Constantine said, we are under assault from Tallahassee with home rule. We hear it from our citizens. We're forced as the local governing body to have to go to our citizens and explain why you can't do this or why this can't occur. Our hands are tied. It's almost one step towards centralized government, which is not what works best for the people. History will tell us that. I realize as a lobbying group, you have your work cut out for you. Not only do you represent cities and counties like us, but you have other interests as well. And balancing those interests sometimes can blur the lines. So my hopes are that we continue to push back on home rule as much as we possibly can, which makes sense for our community. And it's unfortunate we want to lop everybody into one, big bundle of 67 counties, but, we come back later for a carve-out, but in that meantime, we're all paying the price, and our citizens are going, what are y'all doing about it? And we're like,
Yeah.
Right.
okay, call your representatives to Tallahassee. And that's been occurring much more in the last couple years. I didn't field those kind of calls from my constituents early in this office, but in the last couple of years, I get a lot of calls. Why is this going on? You have to call Tallahassee, you have to call representatives up there. It's not our wheelhouse anymore. They've taken that ability away from us. So hopefully, cooler heads will prevail, and when we come back next year, that some common sense will start to work its way through the legislature and understand what maybe is good for Seminole County, maybe isn't good for what's good for Escambia County, and what's good for Santa Rosa is not good for Seminole. And I think we have the ability and should be working with those legislators in Tallahassee to help them understand that, because they don't. And you can't expect them to understand all 67 counties of, all they're hearing is this bad actor here, and then maybe 2 or 3 that are doing the same thing. So then the broad brush, as Commissioner Herb put it, we're all doing the same thing, when in fact we're not. So good luck on that adventure. You've got your work cut out for you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just put a little bit of perspective on this. Accountability is good, commissioners. I agree with you. I have no problem in people having us having an open book, which, by the way, we do already. Accountability is good. And Doge by another name is not new. Oscar knows this. I mean, when I was there, we were doing audits of cities and counties. OPAGA has been doing programs and other things for years and years and years, even when Mr. Adams was here. So the fact of the matter is, of a Doge by another name is not bad. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem is when it's being used for political purposes, and that's what it's being done with.
Good. Anyone else? Thank you all for hearing us today, and we appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Later, Oscar.
We're going to move into our consent agenda. I'm going to ask Ms. Kate Latour to read the rules of public participation. If you have something you want to speak on, items 2 through 19, if you'll fill out a speaker form in the lobby, make sure you get it down to the clerk here. Ms. Dominique's got her hand up, and we'll make sure you get an opportunity to speak. Ms. Latour?
Thank you, Chairman. Florida law provides that members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the Board of County Commissioners, except when the board is acting on emergency or ministerial matters or conducting a meeting exempt from the requirements of the Sunshine Law. Individuals shall be permitted 3 minutes each for public comment, or 6 minutes when the individual is an official representative of a formal association or group. The chairman may modify the maximum time for public comment at his sole discretion when appropriate. Public comments on quasi-judicial or other public hearing items will occur during the board's consideration of those items this afternoon. Public comments on pending procurement matters or on non-agenda items shall not be permitted at this time. Members of the public desiring to make public comment must fill out a speaker form and present the form to staff, and forms are available in the lobby. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Latour. County Manager, do you have any updates on items 3 through 19 on your consent agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Just one item, as item number 5, I'd like to pull that. We're just missing the contract. We'll bring that back to the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
And everything else is good.
Pull number 5?
Yes.
Okay. Any commissioner want to pull any consent items separate for discussion? Seeing none, I will look to the board for, I'm sorry, let me go to public input. Do we have any speaker forms this morning?
No, sir.
Look at that, we'll close public input, and I will go back to the board for direction.
Mr. Chairman, I will move the consent agenda item number 2 for the constitutional officers and county manager's consent agenda 3 through 19 with the exception of 5.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you all very much. We'll now move into our work session. First up is going to be the freebie overview and customer experience. Mr. Christian Swenson, Assistant County Manager. Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. How are you all this morning? As Christian Swenson, Assistant County Manager, I'll just be up here briefly, just kind of go over what we're chatting about today. We'll start with the agenda. We'll go through a purpose, and then I'll turn it over to Freebie and introduce them, and then we'll just talk very briefly about what the next steps are, because we have another work session coming. So the purpose of the presentation today is just to really give the board an update on our microtransit service, and then highlight Freebie and what that service will look like here in Seminole County. So with that, I'm going to be introducing two members of Freebie. We have Claudia Muro and Jason Spiegel. They are both going to be presenting, and they're going to take turns on some different slides, and then I'll get up at the end and we'll just talk about the next work session and stuff.
Thank you. And if you just give us your name and address so we have it on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Claudia Miro, VP at Freebie at 371 Northeast 61st Street in Miami. Very excited to be here today to talk about the Scout program. It has been a long time coming. And first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you and to all of the staff here at Seminole County that has worked really hard, hand in hand with us, to really make this possible. I do want to talk to you a little bit about Freebie here. Obviously, the program is going to be called Scout, powered by Freebie, but I do want you to know a little bit more about us. I know I've met with you and we have been up here several times, but Freebie is a homegrown Florida company based in South Florida. We are currently operating in over 50 cities in the state of Florida, a fleet of over 250 vehicles. We are the largest microtransit provider here in Florida. We're very proud of that. As well as Freebie has been operating in all types of communities. We're not just operating in cities and counties, we also partner with universities, corporate parks, so many hotels, a lot of different places, and it doesn't matter how big or how small the cities are, the counties are, we find a way to customize and make the program make sense for the communities that we serve in. Very flexible and obviously scalable transportation solutions that we bring to all of our clients. As I mentioned earlier, we are in over 50 cities. We're so happy that we were able to start off 13 years ago, really pioneers in microtransit. And I'm here today because I want you to know that we are here to be your partners. We are not a vendor. We are here to be your partners, to be in your community. Many of you have seen me, have seen our CEO, Jason. We are here, we're present, we're visible. We are committed to making sure that this program is successful and that the customer satisfaction is high. We want to focus not just on taking you from point A to point B, but making sure that you are a repeat rider because we focus on that experience. And we believe that if you get into a Scout and you have a positive experience, that you're going to continue to ride. And that's what we want. We want to make sure that we're getting folks where they need to go safely, but also that it's an enjoyable service for them to use. I'm going to go ahead and turn over, and by the way, super excited, we're going to be doing the soft launch next month. So as we get ready to roll this program out, you can count on reaching out to me, reaching out to Jason. We are here, we'll come as many times as we need to make sure that this is a successful program. I will turn it over to our CEO, Jason Spiegel, to take you through the rest.
Thank you, Claudia, and good morning, everybody. Just piggybacking off what she said there, our whole goal here is to exceed your expectations. This is going to launch day 1, and day 30, it might look a little bit different than it does day 1, but we're going to stay very flexible to make sure we are driving the value that this community deserves. We're providing the best service possible here today, and our goal, again, is to make sure you guys understand what differentiates this platform from all different types of transportation services out there, and that's what we're going to go over today. So just at a very high level, speaking specifically about Scout, this program is going to start with 35 vehicles. There will be 5 primary zones, divided up here within the county, and then there will be a flex zone which encompasses the entire county boundaries, excluding the rural area there. Just as a reminder, in terms of the hours of operation, Monday through Friday, it's going to operate from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sundays from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. there. Just a little bit further look into the actual service zones. The 5 different zones here, they were named after the Great Lakes that we have here within Seminole County. You have Monroe, Lake Mary, Howe, Brantley, and Econ. So the zones, the names of the actual zones are named after the lakes here within the county. We will be coming back here in 2 weeks to really kind of do a deep dive on the fare structure, but just as a proposed fare structure here, we're looking kind of at this matrix-looking graphic that you see on the right here, but it's going to be very, very easy to understand, easy for consumers to understand here. And really, if you are staying in one of those specific zones, you'll be charged a base fare for the service. Again, the fare structure will to be determined in a couple of weeks here, but if you are crossing zones, you will be charged a specific fare based on how many zones you are crossing to get to your final destination there. There will be discounted fares for seniors, students, low-income individuals, and more, but again, we will get really into the weeds here in about 2 weeks when it comes to the fare structure. How to request a ride, really easy. Most popular way will be through the Ride Freebie mobile app, so you can download this app in either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or for folks who don't have smartphones, don't feel comfortable using them, they'll also have the ability to call into the dispatch center to receive that same exact service. And here that number will actually just be ride. So you dial ride within Seminole County, it will connect you right to the dispatch center to be able to receive that same exact service there. This is the home screen of the mobile app, and I think it's important to kind of highlight all the different features of this, mobile app and what it's going to be able to do for the county here. But what we like to really kind of communicate about the actual service, it's not just about transportation. This is going to be a localized community guide that's going to highlight everything that Seminole County has to offer. All the local businesses, all the events that you guys have going on, all the public service announcements. You guys want to do surveying, we're able to implement that through this mobile app here. And those carousels that you see on the middle of the page, those are going to be changed daily, weekly, monthly to promote different things that the county is offering back to the community there. Again, easy access to Sunrail, to links, provide that regional connectivity. But every single local business in the county will have the ability to have free advertising on the app itself. They're going to have a profile. It's going to talk about their business. They're going to be able to offer deals and discounts to the constituents here. But again, this service is supposed to provide way more value than just moving somebody from point A to point B. It's how do we drive economic impact, and how do we help the county reach the goals that it has outside of the mobility service. To use the app, it's super easy. All you do is hit request a ride from the home screen there. It drops the pin right where you're at. Once you set your pickup location, next you would be entering your destination, where you can either on the top of the search bar there, enter the address that you're going to, enter the location name, or explore everything that the county has to offer. All the arts, the entertainment, the restaurants, the bars, all the parks within the area here. But there will be a full listing there that they'll be able to choose from to be able to go to their destination. Once they choose that, they let us know how many passengers are with, if they need accessibility, a wheelchair accessible vehicle, if they're going to be carrying a bike, if they're a family, we have booster seats within every vehicle that we operate. And then also you'll be able to see the fare on that specific page before you're confirming the ride. After you confirm a ride, you're connected with a driver in real time. You can see that driver on a map coming towards you. You have an ETA of when that vehicle will be picking you up, how many stops are before you there. But one of the best parts about the service is you're not going to be waiting outside in the hot sun. You're going to be at your home, your office, your place of business, waiting for that vehicle to pick you up at your door and take you exactly to where you want to go there. This is an example, again, how every business here will have, again, free advertising, a local business, basically destination page within the actual app itself. It's all about driving positive economic impact, helping you guys attract new businesses to the area here, events to the area here, because you guys have an amazing mobility service, one, but number two, you're helping promote these businesses, these events, and everything that's coming along down the pipeline there. The drivers of the service, they're a huge part of what we do, and these are W-2 employees. These are not independent contractors like an Uber or Lyft driver. These are actual employees of ours. They're the face of the community here, and something we're very happy to say is we put out the job listing about 2 weeks ago. We have over 500 applicants already here today, so we have a really good pool of driver employees that will be coming on board here, and again, they become the face of the community, almost like a mobile concierge. We put them through our freebie ambassador training, and again, as Claudia mentioned, it's all about how do we provide the best experience to our riders, to the community, so that this system thrives. The fleet of vehicles will be operating two different types of vehicles here. The main vehicle that you will see on the left is the Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is a brand new vehicle that was just launched at the end of 2024. It's the new take. If you guys remember the old Love Bus that Volkswagen had back into the 60s and 70s, this is the new version of that. It's fully electric, holds 6 passengers plus the driver there. It's an amazing vehicle, tons of space on the inside, and they're really considered these micro buses. And then the vehicle on the right is a hybrid Toyota Sienna that is wheelchair accessible there. But again, depending on your accessibility needs, your request, you'll be assigned to a specific vehicle. But these will be the 2 vehicles we'll be operating here within the county. Data is going to be one of the most important things that we are looking at on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make efficiencies, tweaks to the program so that make sure we are driving the highest value possible here. And staff will have access to a live dashboard. They're going to be able to see everything in real time, where all the vehicles are, where they're at, what they're doing, where all the pickup and drop-offs are, all the heat maps. They can pull up any date range they want to look at there. They get access to all the raw data of the actual system itself there. But again, we're going to use this data to help drive long-term decision-making here. They'll get monthly reports, but again, I think more importantly, the data dashboard that we're going to set up for you guys is going to really help tell the story on how successful this program is going to be. And lastly, on the marketing side, again, this won't be successful without a joint marketing effort between the county and Freebie. We've been doing an amazing job so far as a team, reaching out to all the stakeholders within the community here, meeting with them, making sure they understand the benefits of the program there. From our side, we're going to be meeting with all the local businesses, the chambers, the community organizations there. Obviously, as we launch, one of our biggest, biggest riders we're going to be targeting are current Lynx riders, current public transit riders there. So we have a lot of strategies that we have in place from there, creating a lot of great marketing material, both from the handout side, the digital side, but we feel very, very confident that the word's starting to spread, and as this program launches, it's going to take off like a wildfire. And then speaking of launch, we'll be doing some product testing with some product testers actually here in the next couple of weeks on the app side. We'll be using those same testers during the first couple of weeks in September to do some actual in-the-field testing. And then we're going to start soft launching the program starting September 10th, where we'll be launching one zone every single week because this is a massive deployment here. And by October 15th, we'll be fully deployed, and users will be able to get to exactly where they need to go within the county here, and we're really, really excited about that. We'll be back here in a couple weeks to obviously go through all the fare structures, but myself, Claudia, we're up here once, twice, multiple times every single week right now, and again, we're committed to making sure that this program is as successful as you guys envision it, if not more here. But I'll turn it back over to Christian, who will obviously have a few things left here.
All right, thanks, Jason. So, and just talking about next steps, and Jason covered them there, but just to kind of reiterate them, we'll be back here in 2 weeks on the 26th to do a deep dive on fares and have a whole work session on fares, and then our full launch is October 15th. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for being here. We'll go to the board. Commissioner Herr, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Thank you to, first of all, Commissioner Lockhart for launching us down this path. So it was visionary, and I appreciate that. And to Christian for stepping up and becoming a transportation expert on relatively short order. And to the rest of his team that I'm sure did all the work. He didn't, did he, or did he got that? He's laughing. So just a few questions. Did I hear correctly that the advertising on the app is free?
Yes, that's correct. There's free placements for every local business, but then there's also premium placements within the car and on the car for paid advertising.
Does it have to be free in the app?
No, it doesn't have to be free. We've seen it as a benefit to allow that. And again, I wouldn't call it free advertising, more of a listing where they actually can obviously list their profile of their local business, offer deals and discounts, but then there's advertising placements that are not free within the app, in the car and on the car.
Yeah, I just want to keep it on our radar. I don't love free. This isn't free. This is taxpayer paid. And so just let's keep that on our radar as an opportunity for making sure that the program's sustainable, particularly when we use terms like, we anticipate this to blow up in a good way. It can't blow up past what we were spending with links, from my perspective. And so I just think we have to be cautious about that from the get-go. Who's the longest-standing client?
Village of Key Biscayne, they were probably one of the first micro-transit services in the country, going back to 2016, I want to call it. And yeah, it started with a fleet of 2 vehicles. They're up to 9. Obviously, totally different environment than
Yep.
Seminole County, but we're doing significant ridership there.
And just really rough idea, but number of iterations. You look at it every year. You first launched, it changed a little bit. And then the follow-up question to that is, as we launch, how many iterations do you think we'll go through before we sort of settle in?
From that program, there wasn't much iterations in terms of how it changed. There are some things we've done, over the last 9 years or so, where we've implemented different fixed routes throughout the day for some, again, just very peak times. Didn't work too well. We put those into the on-demand fleet. It actually worked out a lot better there. But we hadn't changed that program too much. I mean, here, I don't think we're going to go through much iterations. I mean, I think we've iterated this a lot in terms of conceptually. We've done a lot of analysis. I think we're landing in a really good place for the launch. Could there be some small tweaks to the program? Absolutely. But I don't think it's going to be anything significant.
I think one of the things that I really would like everyone to be considerate of is the fact that it's a brand-new program, that there will be changes, and I think there is sort of this legacy thought process, at least from the feedback that I'm hearing in the community, that once you establish a route, it takes 10 years to change the route. And so that's it's probably an exaggeration, but we are prepared to make sure that this works. We're not going to change it or customize it to individual needs, but it will serve the greater good, and we're ready to be flexible to make sure that it's of service. I think that was the point that I was trying to make with that. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Look forward to doing it.
Absolutely.
Look forward to riding.
Yes,
I don't know where
please.
I'm going, but look forward to riding.
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank you for being here. We've had a lot of good discussions. I think this is a great program, and I look forward to as it moves forward. Can you pre-schedule pickups?
So currently today, no. Do we have that capability? Yes. Now, it's kind of a catch-22. If you allow everybody to pre-schedule pickups, everybody's going to pre-schedule and take up, obviously, the allocated fleet that we have, meaning that the on-demand service would be kind of non-existent there. We've tried it in areas, didn't work where you do both, and so we've either done fully pre-scheduled or fully on-demand there.
Okay. So with the on-demand, what do you anticipate the average pickup would be?
In terms of wait time?
Yeah.
So based on our goal, number one, and some of the simulations that we've done, we're seeing at about a 20 to 22-minute average wait time,
Okay.
and we're looking for a max of 30-minute wait time. Now, that's all going to be dependent on demand. We think it's going to be demand X, and it's this demand. Obviously, that's where we have to add vehicles to be able to meet that demand without going over the old budget, which is important. We understand that. But I think there's significant savings day one, and we have that room to really kind of grow into, again, as that demand continues to rise, to be able to continue to meet that level of service there.
Could you give us, not today, but when we talk about the actual fare structure, what your assumptions are
Yeah.
for the fare structure?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then can you also give us what other cities have done in the beginning of their fare structure as well, and how they've changed, so we can get an idea?
Sure. Yeah, we can bring that back in 2 weeks.
Great. And then with that, can you also bring back the algorithm on how it actually works so that we can kind of not get into the weeds, but try to understand it?
in terms of like the pickup algorithm on the back end and some of the kind of functionality, yeah, sure, we could definitely talk about that at a high level.
Great, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you. I'm very happy that we're not the first, because I do understand how difficult, anything like this that's new, and there's no new ideas in the world, but there's always improvement. And this is going to be an exciting opportunity for all the citizens of Seminole County. I wanted to tell everyone, I was going to put this in my report, but I'll say it now. At the last meeting of CalNo, we were the hosts, and this was one of the presentations, and Christian did an incredible job. But I've never seen enthusiasm like I did with the commissioners that were there from the cities and the school board and and Seminole County, Seminole State. They were all excited. They recognized the opportunities here, and I think all of us do. I did want to ask you, however, because there has been some disappointments, and there has been some glitches in other areas. Tell me what happened in Monroe County.
It's hard to say, honestly. One thing I will say is Doge. They felt that this was something that was potentially competing with the private sector there. And Monroe County never had public transportation. They hired an executive director about 3 years ago to put together a long-range plan. He was doing an excellent job of that. His long-range plan was to put microtransit on all the different key islands, the major ones there, have connectors between them in terms of fixed routes. He got a bunch of grants for the county there. And out of nowhere, they axed him, and they axed the entire transportation plan that they were putting together there. From an actual program perspective, extremely successful. In terms of ridership, in terms of who's using the service, why they're using the service. There was some things put out there, some false connotations of who was using the service. But it was an extremely successful service, and the community right now is in outrage. They didn't give the public any, basically, time to put any input or feedback that they had on the actual service there. It was a decision made out of nowhere, and it was really kind of blindly as well. There could be some steps walking back on that because of all the feedback that they've received, but it was really more of a philosophical shift from we want to provide public transportation to we want nothing to do with public transportation.
Okay, and I asked you that not because I wanted to point out a failure, but I wanted to point out the fact that not only did we learn from this, but that one of the key aspects to this is that we have to be in it for the long haul. Mm-hmm. This is not something that, as soon as somebody decides to complain about it, that all of a sudden we want to, go back, walk around it, and change the whole thing. Now, clearly there are problems in Monroe County to go from one key to another key and how long it is. And I'm shocked that they could even imagine that they could make this sustainable. But the fact of the matter is that, for our purposes, I think that all of us, and I know I am, and I know, and I think from what all the others have said, we're in this for the long haul. Mm-hmm. We think this is great. And I'm looking forward to working with you all. And clearly, that's something that I don't want, as Commissioner Delory pointed out earlier, that the citizens have to understand we're going to have problems. There's no question. You're not going to get there 30 minutes every single time, especially in the beginning. But we're going to make this thing work, and I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much to all of our staff, and all the commissioners for being the big supporters of this. This
Absolutely.
is great.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful to have you here. I had the privilege of hearing about your company at a Florida Association of Counties conference this time last year.
Okay.
So the fact that we are rolling out a year later, almost to the month, I think is absolutely astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Quick story. because I think it's kind of funny. I had just been appointed to Links, the Links Board, by Chairman Zembauer, and was looking at our projected cost increases over the coming years. And I remember sitting with the county manager and panicking slightly that there was no way we could sustain this. And the meeting at the Florida Association of Counties Conference was maybe about, I don't know, a few weeks after that time. And there was a woman standing at the door of one of the breakout sessions, and she said, "Can you just come and sit in this breakout session? We need some more people. They were getting ready to start. We need some more people in here." And I said, "Well, what is it on?" She said, "Well, it's on microtransit." And I said, "Well, what's microtransit?" I had no idea. "Sure, I'll sit in the back of the room. I'll respond to some emails. Yeah, I'll." And it took about 2 minutes after Claudia started talking about freebie for me to stop looking and responding at emails and become incredibly engrossed in what this concept was all about, and starting to ask questions and visualize what this could do for us in Seminole County in terms of helping us with our links funding precipice. So the story from there took a lot of different people coming together and a lot of very quick action on the part of the county manager and his team to pull together, could this really be a reality for us in Seminole County? Because it's not lost on me or any of my colleagues that we're a big county. We're a small county, but we are larger than the cities that have been mostly being utilized by your service. So it was a huge challenge, and huge shout out to Christian Swenson and his team. And I know you have a couple of interns maybe with you here this morning. Would you like to tell us about the interns and the work that they're doing? Because this is an all hands on deck process.
Yes, we're very grateful for the interns. We have 3 interns from UCF. They have done a deep dive on all things economics and social services in the county. They've looked at areas of income. They've looked at areas of need. They've looked at what ridership is at different points within the county, tied that to businesses around. They're currently doing boots on the ground and going to meet both riders and assemble the data so we can keep them tuned in, as well as looking at advertising efforts and things like that to promote the service within businesses that are key points to target the Lynx riders. So they have been extremely instrumental. They are here every day working hard for us, and
Awesome.
we appreciate it.
Thank you. Go Knights.
Go Knights.
I also wanted to point out that we're talking about having ambassadors on the Lynx buses to help people, because the point of this is to make sure that our Lynx riders are taken care of first, that we are providing them the alternative. Can you talk a little bit about what those ambassadors look like? And maybe they're not on the buses, maybe they're at the bus stops, but can we talk about that as well?
Yep. So as you can see, we actually have so we have created ambassador shirts, so that way people can see them. They don't look like just some random person approaching you. So we have a somewhat loud-looking shirt to kind of draw attention to it. But we're starting off with approaching people at bus stops, because you can get to bus stops a lot faster than being tied up on a bus with 1 or 2 people on there and then waiting for the next stop. So that's what we're looking at doing. That's where we're taking down the demographics. Not only the interns are doing it, we also have a private ad firm as well that's working with the communications office. The communications office has been absolutely amazing. You saw obviously their awards. They've helped design the shirts. They've helped with the logos, and I say helped, they've done the logos of the vehicles, the whole shebang. They've been instrumental. And so between our intern activities, private ad agency, and then Chris Patton's group is how we're doing the ambassadors. We may ultimately get on the bus. We're going to use it as we start the launch after October. We have that carryover period before Lynx finishes. The routes that we're reducing in January, we're going to use that and monitor it very closely, who's on the bus, who's not, and then make sure no one gets left behind.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Very, very grateful for everybody's work. Amazing.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, note that Mr. Swenson just said, and that's, when we launched this in the fall, we're not discontinuing our Lynx routes. We are working simultaneously through the fall, and then in January, most of our links routes will then be discontinued, and the ones that are performing, which is in the southern part of the county, will still keep those couple routes. So, great point.
Good. So, a couple of questions. We had spoken at some point during one of the work sessions about maybe having some signage at the current bus stops and at the Sunrail station with QR codes or whatever, so that the current riders would be able to quickly identify, hey, there is this other option now.
Yeah, so that is still something that's on target for us. So we most recently, let me back up and just give a little history here. We wanted to order the vehicles and then get them coming, but we didn't want to sound the alarm on the official Lynx date to terminate the service for the routes being reduced until we knew exactly when the vehicles were coming. So we had kind of a loose arrangement with Lynx to say if we want 3 months overlap. Once we got when the vehicles were coming, we were able to send them a letter to say, please discontinue service on January 10th. So with that, Lynx has begun the process, and they just started communication with me last week about a tandem process to begin their communication to talk about those reductions. The signage and the things that you're talking about will work as part of that process, so that way it all goes seamlessly through there. So those aren't forgotten, they're just coming a little bit later in the process along with the termination.
Great. Also, and I don't need to know it right here, I don't want your proprietary information, but at your convenience, if you get with my office, I'd like to understand your hiring process.
Yeah, absolutely. We
We
can set up a,
As far as background checks and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
For security of our obvious residents and those riders.
Definitely.
I was in Palm Beach yesterday and had the opportunity to ride and view one of these Volkswagen IDs.
Oh, awesome.
I will tell you, there will be no mistaking them in the community. They're cute little things. They don't really resemble anything that we really see on the road today. And I think with the flashy paint work that's on it, that it'll be easily identifiable to our citizens and those riders to be able to see that's what we want to get on is the little Volkswagen love bus and go across town and have happy things happen. I do want to take a moment and thank staff for all their hard work and Commissioner Lockhart. Tim, you're
Yep.
back there. Thank you for all your hard work and your work. Put on your thinking cap and remember my first year here going through the Lynx process, and I sat down and said, Tim, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more efficient way. Some of my colleagues at the time were like, well, you know, it's a necessary evil. You got to do mass transportation for this. And I said, yeah, but there's got to be a more efficient way. Commissioner Lockhart, thank you for getting it done and getting that pushed forward and getting that momentum. I think, you know, we were all sites where we needed to go. It's just a matter of getting there and convincing enough people this was the right model. And like we've said before, and I think we even said here today, is there's going to be a few hiccups and a few speed bumps when this thing kicks off. I would just say that's expected. You know, our public needs to have some patience and some grace as we move through this and adjust it accordingly. And we want to make sure that our freebie association understands that as well. That, you know, we're going to have people that are going to have concerns, and we need to have those elevated to make sure that we're doing what's best to address that. And before anybody from the rural area calls my office and says, there's not going to be service in the rural area, there's still going to be some service in the rural area, but this also handles, remember, the rural area is the Black Hammock, which is the 434 corridor. It's still going to handle that under the, I think it's the Lake Howell area. So you, my folks and residents in that area, yes, you can get on one of these and still go places you want to go. Great work. I'm looking forward to this kicking off and understanding where we end up and updates along the way. I think what we're going to see is this is going to be more popular than we believe. I think it's going to be more popular than folks getting on a Lynx bus. It's going to be certainly more efficient. I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be much more user-friendly. So, and also recognize Mr. Fred Kittinger from UCF that's here. Thank you, Fred. Thank you for supplying us with individuals from your learning institution that can be part of this and the value they bring from some of the younger minds that some of us old folks struggle with technology sometimes, but we're very thankful for y'all being involved. We sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Hurd.
I think we forgot to thank Darren and Kate and their teams for doing everything that they did to have this happen in a year. And I kid you not, Kristen has stepped up in a huge way, and I was joking, to become a transportation expert and then just keep knocking down the barriers. And this is really a study in how government can get something done.
Right.
But it's the team that we have here that did that.
Next stop, RTA. No pressure. Regional Transit Authority.
Oh.
So we can start getting our federal help. So, yes. Thank you all very much. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a
Thank
safe
you.
day.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Yes. All right, does anybody need a break before we go to the next one?
Let's take 5 minutes then.
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes, real quick. We've got a couple that need to take a break. All right, welcome back. Yeah. All right, Ms. Brandolini, let's get started. We'll be back in session.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Christina Brandolini, Human Resources Director, and I am joined this morning by Charles Cook with Alliant. We are here for our 2026 Benefit and Wellness discussion. So this morning, we are going to give you our annual wellness update, discuss some enhanced benefits, and some recommendations for potential cost reduction and cost saving strategies. We'll give you an overview of the medical and pharmacy claims, the annual wellness update, a long-range strategy and recommendations, the 2026 recommended medical premiums and plan design recommendations, some RFP results for enhanced benefits, medical carrier and clinic discussion, and then we will be open for questions and direction. So I'm going to turn it over to Charles.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'd like to, with the introduction, our intern Kelly Rush from UCF is here.
Oh, look at that.
She's worked on the PowerPoint that you'll see and has done a tremendous job. Her last day as an intern is Friday. So I wanted to recognize her. In front of you, you have this historical information going back to 2018 showing the total claims, the number of employees, the claims net of stop loss, and then the per employee per month. You are a poster child for what a wellness program that includes a mandatory annual physical can do for costs over time. If you look from 18 through 23, the stability is pretty astounding. We had a very large jump in 24 that is year-to-date 25, pretty consistent. We have researched, I looked at the last 6 years from 19 to now on cancer statistics, and what you saw was an uptick in cases diagnosed in 23, and that higher number has kind of continued. You also have a phenomenon of cancers that weren't caught because of screenings that didn't happen that are diagnosed later. So we have kept a very close eye on your top claimants, and I hope this stabilization is something we'll see. Actually, July's claims were lower than the last 12-month average, which Tim and Christina and I were happy to see. That gives you some context of where we've kind of been. If you look at the next page, I'm going to go quickly. I have to do it very quickly. This shows your enrollment. The top chart is actives by area and then retirees below. Most of the people are in what's called the mid plan, which is a $500 deductible plan. And then the buy-up is a $250 plan, the low plan's a $1,500 or $1,000 deductible, and only $113 in the high deductible health plan. This is just your enrollment breakdown. Very quickly, one of the good news things is your stop-loss premium. We were able to reduce that 33% into 2022, and we are not back up to where we were yet in 2021. This is a very volatile market that has evolved a lot. I don't know what the future brings, but we have been successful here. The bottom shows you one full payment and then the next 3 estimates, because this particular contract has a participation feature where if the claims are not above a certain level, you get some of that money back. So that's not included in the rate structure. This was a good news page for me. This page has a lot happening, and I won't read it to you. One of the things we wanted to do was look at market norms and benchmark your plans. So this has some minor adjustments to deductibles and copays to make the plans closer to market and to balance out a couple of things that were anomalies, where a copay might be better in one plan versus another. So these are minor changes. The deductibles have not changed. And then, from the benefits, we go to probably the most important slide here with a lot of numbers. You all have paid, if you look on the left, 100% for wellness for the mid plan, the low plan, and the HSA. And you only had to pay more if you're employee only for the $250 deductible plan. And so our recommendation was to go to what's called a core buy-up, meaning that the county would fund the same amount of the $1,000 deductible plan, which is a market norm deductible plan, across all tiers. And then if somebody wanted to buy up to the $500 or $250, they paid that difference. Working with Tim and Christina, this is an evolutionary step. This is not a core buy-up by definition. It's a step in that direction. Most of our clients have this philosophy where if you hire someone, you know this is what I'm going to pay across the tiers, and then people can buy up for that. So this, if you look at the bottom, you will see now that you have 100% employee or 100% coverage for low 1,000, 1,650 HSA, and then there's a small differential when you go up to the 500, 250 deductible plan. It's greater on families, FYI. So this is the philosophy. We've modeled a couple of different options. If I looked at it from the outside, I would say, why do you have a 250 deductible plan? That's ancient, get rid of it. That plan has a population, and the population of that plan are driving high costs. Moving them to another plan is simply not going to change their costs or what's underlying that. So we want to keep the contributions to where they're paying an appropriate share. The wellness is not changing. Thrive for 5. Annual physical, the associated blood work, that's the barrier to entry, and then you get 3 more points through a number of different options. One of that we're looking at an alternative is BMI, because there's been a lot of thought around how valuable that is or appropriate that is based on your body type. Commissioner DeLaurie just had me do math in my head saying that your height and weight or height and waist should be a measure, but we're talking with Brandy Fox, who is here next to our intern, who is our wellness on-site person with Cigna. Otherwise, it stays the same. In terms of communication, Christina and team, this is a history of how they communicated this year to be sure everybody knew. The end time is 7/31 to be eligible to have all your points, and then you get the payroll deduction incentive the following year. That cycle will remain the same through 7/31 of 26 with the same goals essentially. So that's this is the communication. And we're always looking to be sure we communicate with everyone. I'll show you one interesting slide on communication about wellness in a second. Now, here it is. Alliance Wellness team did an analysis for Seminole County to structure a multi-year plan on wellness that is agnostic to Cigna. We want it to be long-term, just like your data is now all in analytics, agnostic to your carrier partner. This shows us who your employees are. So they are going to receive information very differently depending on the demographic. We want to have our future communication campaigns focus on reaching all of your different employee groups. Going forward, we will continue momentum into next year, really try to instill a culture of wellness. I'm not on site to know that's here. Anecdotally, I would say there could be improvements there where this is something the county's about. It's interesting that the challenges, while someone can get a point with the challenge, they build a lot of community amongst your employees, and that contributes. And then in 2.5 years, we don't even know what might be available in terms of testing or technology or what's going to be here. So Alliance team is staying way ahead of the curve on this as we look forward to the future. We did a RFP for a PBM. There you go, a request for proposal for a pharmaceutical benefit manager. You all are now what's called carved in, meaning Cigna's PBM Express Scripts it's one unit. So as Florida passed a transparency law for non-ERISA employers, of which you're one, and we renegotiated your contract last year based on that, and you've seen improvements in your rebates. We are working to take a step forward in transparency. We went through this process. Highlighted in blue are Cigna, the incumbent, and Navitas. Those were the 2 finalists interviewed and given the opportunity for best and final. And the savings is between $600,000 and $750,000. So it's it's not insignificant, but the spread between Cigna at the $600,000+ and Navitas we believe is small enough that we would recommend staying with Cigna on the PBM for the integration that is there. I will tell you, as I briefed each of you, I think this would also give Cigna time to play a little bit better in the sandbox as we move with a potential outside partner. So that's our recommendation here. But this process resulted in over $600,000 in savings. Next, we have prescription care management. Their contract is coming to an end. We got an extension for a couple of months, and we did a request for information. We didn't have a full data analysis, but we went to the 3 listed plus PCM. PCM, Scripta, and Leverix responded. We had finalist interviews with Scripta and Leverix. Scripta, from a cost standpoint, is slightly less expensive on the admin portion than PCM, but they all guarantee that you're going to overcome their fee. And Scripta's projected savings was less than what we've had with PCM for the last 12 months, and their process is not matching what we are currently comfortable with. Leverix was actually more expensive on the cost part and couldn't accommodate something that we believe is important now. The way it works now is the outreach is to the doctor says yes or no, then the outreach is to the member says yes or no. Neither of these options offered that for the member. So the doctor could change the member medication without getting permission could change the medication without getting permission from the member. So given the savings that we've seen with PCM, given the process that is in place, we would recommend staying with PCM. Their price did go down 20% per member per month. Yeah, 10% per member per month. So I think both of these processes achieved a good outcome. In terms of the non-medical coverages, Lincoln has been your dental carrier, and there have just been challenges. I would say this was the HSA of the group this time. We did an RFP, tremendous response to this, the recommendation, and I just want to show you one thing, and I'm not going to go through it. Every one of these lines of coverage had multiple respondents. Our scorecard process through Leah Robleski, who is on our team, was phenomenal. So all of these recommendations came through a process to this. So Reliance for dental, voluntary benefits, you have kind of antiquated, separated stuff now, so we would move the cancer, specified disease, critical illness to Sun Life, add accident and hospital with Sun Life, and add prepaid legal with MetLife. So those are the recommendations on the non-medical. The scorecards are there for you to see of the finalists. And then a couple of briefings, we've talked about clinics. Their clinics have evolved a lot over the last 10 years, a lot because of the ability for telemedicine across state lines, which doesn't apply to you, but that applies to a lot of employers. So to give you a big framework, there's a model where you would pay a certain amount per member per month with a limit, and it would cover primary care lab diagnostics and some generic drugs. That's an option. We have not gone down getting a proposal for that, but we've analyzed what the cost of that might be. There are a couple of options out there now. Seminole County Public Schools has an Orlando Health Clinic at a location within the county that potentially you could access, and it would be done as an in-network doctor, so a claim. There's no additional per member per month. And then we, in this market, have 2 federal qualified health centers as clients, one on the East Coast, one here, True Health. And we are now working with clients who are interested in a clinic type model to partner with them. Janelle Dunn is the CEO and has worked closely with us. So there are options around that model. I think the clinic idea is becoming more prevalent because of the hospital systems buying primary care physicians and people being looped into this big thing and having access issues. So these would be area you want to access. You want people to have primary care physicians. Something like this, the one on the right, especially True Health, it's there now. It's part of your network. The This is a slide, really, I wanted for the briefings, I wanted to, we're ending 3 years with Cigna, and no experience is perfect. We work at our team to be sure that every issue is addressed. We have calls with the team to be sure we're on top of everything. But you came from Florida Blue, Aetna and United are the other big players, there are third-party administrators. I just wanted, that's out there. I think the biggest thing we're looking at here is the PBM evolution as transparency becomes more and more important, and Cigna's ability to grow in that world as well as integrate in that world, I think is something critical to look at the beginning of 2026. I would not at this point say RFP. The dissatisfaction, there's not really a dissatisfaction level with Cigna. I think it's just a balance, like with every carrier, if they're spending your money and you want them to be good monitors of your money without making it disruptive for employees. With that, I'll turn it back over to Christine, but I'd welcome any questions.
We'll get to them. Let's let Christina finish up, and we'll go to questions from the board. Thank you, Charles.
I just wanted to go back through the recommendations and the requested actions. We know this is a lot of information. We are asking to approve and authorize staff to make recommended plan design changes. Those were the changes to some of those copays and such, as well as the recommended regular and wellness employee premium contributions for plan year 2026. Approve and authorize staff to move forward with the Thrive with 5 wellness program with the potential change to the BMI. Authorize staff to bring recommendation for the prescription benefit manager for approval at the August 26, 2026 board meeting. And lastly, authorize staff to bring recommended providers for the ancillary employee paid benefits for approval to the August 26, 2025 board meeting.
Okay. Any questions? Chris Brandolini.
I have a comment, if I may.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you. Charles, thank you. Christina, thank you. Thought it was well presented. Had a lot of questions in my office. You addressed all of them, so thank you for that. I think education is obviously the key on anything we do. We've been discussing this on many years, and I want to make sure that as we move forward that we're educating the spouses, whoever is a significant person in the family, that addresses the medical insurance, because those are the people, whoever they are, with each family member will be making those decisions, depending on how the structure is. We did talk a little bit about HSA in my office, and I think it'd be advantageous for us to normalize the family and individual benefit, so to speak, and normalizing it so that it's equal, representative. Right now the county's paying $500 for each one. The family should be getting a additional, in my opinion, whoever the family is, because of the savings that it provides us. I like your comments that you've made about telehealth. I think that's very important, and I know that's going to be more involved in the future, and I look forward to seeing it. We also talked about the BMI, and there's other ways of doing that. I know the medical industry can discuss that in more detail than I could ever do that, so look forward to hearing whatever decision or information you can bring back to us. But those are my comments. Thank you.
I'd like to respond to your comments.
Sure.
The HSA recommendation in small print that I didn't go over is to change, now it's 500 employee or family, to be 500 for employee and 1,000 for family. The deductible on the family is basically double, so this would make it more market norm, if you will. Additionally, the education is so key because if you choose the HSA, your payroll deductions for your family tiers are significantly less. And educating people about how easy it would be to put that money in the HSA pre-tax, the HSA and its deductible become less scary. Now I'm going to say the thing that I may regret as I'm driving back. We do a lot of, Christina's team does a ton of communications. Our office does a ton of enrollment meetings, and the attendance is extremely low. And I I hate the word mandatory, but this is so important, and you're spending so much money on it. And people, even when they're educated, they don't think about it till they're sick. And I would encourage some way to have participation in the meetings. I mean, we can do raffles, we can do prizes, whatever, but that's key.
So Charles, on that note,
yeah.
if I may, what's the percentage of participation of our employees?
In the enrollment meetings?
Yeah, no, in the education piece of it, the wellness.
Oh, the wellness is 95%.
But what's the education part of it? Because you just talked about that.
Okay, I'm talking about live education. So a couple of things. We can and will do video, we'll do anything for the spouse to access via a click. But in terms of understanding your benefits, especially the HSA, having people in the room is important. And so as a percentage of, we just have low participation. Is that fair?
I'd have to look at the
Okay.
exact numbers.
And we'll check on definitely the BMI, we've been talking about that, we've been that. But the education's key.
Commissioner Lockhart.
So back in the day, when we had open enrollment meetings, this room was packed with employees. And there were tables from the different vendors along the back wall, and I guess you could probably debate whether or not that was a good or bad thing. But there was a lot of participation. It was also a time when the culture of this organization, and I am not saying anything against the current administration because they're doing a wonderful job. There was a gap between the prior culture and Mr. Gray's arrival that really took away anything that required employee education. We used to be, and I'm speaking now as a former employee, we had required continual education every year that we had to complete, if we wanted to even be eligible for our cost of living increase. There's been a huge paradigm shift in this organization over the years from a lot of required employee engagement, which benefited the entire organization, to the pendulum has swung completely the opposite direction. So I would be in support of, and I know Commissioner Constantine has said to me before, you are the stick, I am the carrot, and maybe I am. But I think there could be a happy medium of carrot stick involved in this, bringing people to this education, because they will be saving themselves a tremendous amount of money. They will be saving the organization a tremendous amount of money. And learning really how to care for themselves and their entire families so much more holistically. Commissioner Delari's word. Notice how I'm going to find a word that it makes each commissioner that might ring familiar. But I think I'm completely on board with whatever we need to do in order to improve engagement.
Anything else?
Well, I have comments in general.
Commissioner Herr.
So I think it's vacillated into a new universe in terms of education, and mandatory is good. I support mandatory. I don't think mandatory has to be live. I think it can be, you watch an educational session. I think it can be live. It doesn't have to be live. I think you guys go and figure that out. And I hearken back to your cool slide about what people want, and boomers want live. We want to reach out and wring somebody's neck, but millennials don't. They don't want to be in a room talking about benefits, and they will probably come to the room and not listen.
Hey now.
Yeah, having raised a couple of them, but they may actually engage in a video that gives a few questions at the end, and then they tee up and win a raffle. So you do with that what you want. I think the core buy-up concept is a really good concept. I think it's very gracious that we're evolving to it. I think we need to evolve to it. I think that we are not necessarily training our folks to actually look at the financial mechanism of the plans, and because we've insulated them from that. So I don't think we need to change anything for this recommendation, but just know that that needs to iterate over time. My personal opinion is, and I, please, Cigna, don't make me regret saying this, but the value of the difference for this year on the carve-out is not worth moving it. They need to keep coming to the table with the right answers on the PBM, or we need to not be doing business with Express Scripts, which ties us to Cigna. They know this. This is not anything new. I'm doing it on all of my cases. And they are iterating their responses to all of us. So that's good news, but they need to keep up the good work that they've done. I don't think the $250 plan is paying for itself. Charles and I, in my briefing, had a fairly decent discussion around this, but right now it's not. And we can move folks into another plan. It won't help, but they're not self-supporting now anyway. So iterating to the really true core buy-up is good. I love the decision on PCM. They, at the time we put them in, were the only ones that called the physician first, and it is their unique differentiator. And it is interesting that no one's migrated to that. I'm kind of surprised by that, but that was a good find. The conversations around clinics, there are still a lot of clinic models out there that are exceptionally expensive that don't carry their weight in terms of cost containment. That market has migrated as well, and there's some out there that actually don't cost a fortune and will actually help the employees. So that's a long-term conversation as well. But overall, I think you guys did great work. And great work on the wellness program. I will confess that I actually did qualify for the wellness incentive, but that was because of a last-minute effort, because I was getting the reminders, but perhaps didn't read them as deeply as I needed to, and I went on autopilot and qualified for the Seminole County Public Schools one, which I educate on regularly. And so we caught it in time because of a mailer that came to the house where I looked and I'm like, let me check. Ooh. And I was helped by the Cigna rep, and here you got to go do a few more things.
Thank you, Brandy. I would like to, one comment on the 250 plan not supporting itself. That could be a long conversation. But before we went to this evolution of core buy-up, we did make some rate adjustments to at least make the 4 plans more actuarially accurate in terms of the rates. So it pushes it up a little bit. Again, evolution.
Commissioner Lockhart, then Commissioner Constantine.
So, while equality among the plans is very important in terms of payment, employee contribution, I want to make sure that, just from an overall perspective, that families really, we want families on our plan. We need children on the plan. And having come from the school district situation where we could not get families on the plan because it was just unaffordable for them. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy that we couldn't get the families and we couldn't afford it, and then it was just this horrible cycle we were in. So I want to make sure that we don't do anything that puts us in a place where we are fighting at cross purposes regarding families being on the plan.
I think what Tim has done, when you look at 25 and 26, is very focused on that. But the focus is to make that available in a core plan. We're not going to run people off, but if you do want to have a richer plan, then you pay for it.
Okay.
I don't do enough of these to know if I'm supposed to respond with comments, but
No, thank you. Yeah,
Oh, we're not shy, we'll tell you.
Yeah. You don't want dead air hanging out there around this place.
Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you. So I will self-admit that I'm one of the guys that you said most people don't even consider this unless they're sick and don't look at this. I plead guilty. But I understand that, obviously every year we have this brought up, reevaluated, and make changes. This year, the biggest change from what I can see in talking with Christina is the middle is going to be charged $25 a month. Is that correct?
That's correct on the single, and there's a similar-ish.
So that has 600 and some odd people, and the low has 100 and some odd people. Clearly, the middle is the biggest, with almost half of all of the employees using it. So with the difference between the high, the middle, and the low not being, as you said, that much, do you not think that a lot of people, being that the low is going to cost zero, that there is going to be a major shift to the low?
From a consultant standpoint, I think the $25 is too low. I think it's going to be too easy to stay where they are, based on what I've seen. But again, culturally, Christina and Tim really wanted to make this a smoother road. So I don't think we'll have a large shift. It becomes more important if you have family coverage, the differential.
Okay. And again, I'm not the expert. I would look to Commissioner Her, because this is her line of employment. And I would say when any company shifts their thing, and one has had traditionally a zero amount as far as employee participation, and it goes to 25, but another one that may not be as good but is available is at zero, do you see a lot of shift there?
So the way we're doing it, I don't think I agree with our consultant. I don't think we're going to see a lot of shift. I would also tell you that we have a couple of odd phenomena in the underlying plan offering. Number one, you typically don't have zero to the employee for 3 plans. It's just odd. It's usually 1, maybe 2. If you have an HSA in play, maybe that's a 0 and then another plan. So that third plan being 0 really does need to move. The second component to that our offering that is odd is that we don't have $250 deductibles out there in the atmosphere anymore. And so really, we should try to start moving, and we talked about this years ago, but we went through a period of time where we stopped educating and we stopped actually talking about this, even though it's a major expenditure. And so now we're talking about it. I think this is a very smooth way to migrate us to market standards, particularly in a time when we're trying to be as conservative as we can be on spending. They still have the freedom to choose. It's still affordable to stay where you are. This is a monthly number. This gets divided by 2 paychecks, and then you have it pre-taxed.
But it's $300 plus a year.
And we're giving out nice pay raises.
Okay. So I just wanted, I understand, but I'm just trying to.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, because this is the largest one, and as from what Commissioner Lockhart had indicated, I'm trying to put it all together. So this is really, the mid-plan is really important for the families mostly, or am I wrong on that?
In terms of the enrollment,
Yeah.
I thought I had everything at my fingertips, but I don't have the number of family enrollment there. I think it's pretty commensurate across all plans.
Okay.
And that's only changing by $25 as
Right.
well. So that's not even changing to the same percentage as the family. So the family's even more insulated by the change. I don't think you'll see families move either.
So, so the consensus here from both the expert and the expert is that $25, you're not going to see a major shift of those 680 going to the low, which is only 100.
I don't think so, but I think with good education, if we could get to almost mandatory, we will have migration to the HSA if people sit and look at what this means in their paycheck. But I'm glad you brought this up, because what I didn't say when I was referring to this slide with the plan design changes, there's $1,002,000 projected savings in these plan design changes. So we did want to look holistically at, the responsibility of the county. These are minor changes that will result in big savings. We don't know the shift, so the employee, these are such small increments in employee, we don't see there'll be a huge uptick in employee contributions, but there will be some.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you. Charles, one thing we didn't talk about is the retirees, because there is a number of retirees that are on this. I think it's like 67 or 65, something like that. And most of them are in the buy-up plan. Can we have some discussion on that?
We have 49 of the 63 are in the buy-up plan.
Okay. So how does that affect them? Because I know they're going to be paying more for the buy-up plan now because of the additional $25. Is that because of their, are they choosing to do that because, it must be because of their high medical claims then, correct?
Statistically, I mean, the 250 plan is burdened by the most retirees. That's an expensive group of people. I don't have isolation into exactly that, but that's probably just, this is what I've always had. 250 is normal to me. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. So the education goes out to them as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Herr.
Question on the retirees, how many are over and under 65?
Okay, these are retirees under 65 in the Cigna plan.
Not on Medicare, Medicaid.
But we don't force people to get Medicare.
Wait a minute, okay, I want to be sure I'm right. These are,
It could be both.
Could be both.
So I'd have to give you the breakdown. We do, there is less of a cost if you're over 65 and also taking Medicare. So we give the discount for that.
For the cost of Medicare Part B.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd have to give you the exact, I'll give you the exact breakdown.
Can you give us some data on that then?
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks.
So a takeaway for next year is that we need to figure out if there's an option for the retirees that are Medicare age to move to a Medicare plan, which actually will benefit them. It will cost a lot less money.
it is more the norm for if you still have retiree coverage, which is almost non-existent.
Right.
It's only for people under 65 on this plan, and then you have, however you subsidize it, a Medicare plan, whether it's surround, ABD, everything. But absolutely, forgive me for not having that in my memory, but that would be a good thing to.
Yeah, the state mandates us to offer exact
offer it,
plans
okay,
and
so-
at the current rates, but it doesn't stop us from educating them to
Okay.
take something better. And at one point, we had a program here, also went by the wayside, because it
Okay.
was education, we weren't doing that.
Sorry, it was just.
You did bring up a
It was the
lot of
dark
it.
ages, that's what
Yeah.
we'll refer to it as. We're in a
Yeah.
new age of enlightenment.
I don't have a lot to go into, but I will say, talking about telemedicine, if you get on Trump's new mobile cellular plan, you get free telemedicine. Just an FYI.
Okay.
True. It's true. Yeah, it's true. Anyway, I think there's been a lot of things said. A lot of things in detail. I won't go into them because it's too late in this process to shift gears and change opinions. I think going into next year, I think for me, I would like to see this process start a little earlier and sooner as we digest this. But I think this really should be included as part of a overall compensation discussion to our employees and how we model this as part of the compensation packages that we do give our employees. And there's a lot of creative ways that this can be done for the employees to pick and choose, perhaps what they need to do. I am not a fan of mandating anything for employees other than show up to work, do your job, and do those kind of things. Incentivizing, I'm okay with. If there's an incentive there for reduction in cost or other things that they can get, I don't know that we have a lot of employees interested in having a raffle prize for a 43-inch flat screen TV or something of that like, but maybe that's lost on me. But I would like to see us do a deeper dive and earlier work in this, and I appreciate you all doing the number routine that I asked you to work on several of these policies or several of these programs to help me understand what we might want to look at, moving forward. So, good work. I appreciate it sincerely. Thank you. Any other questions?
I think they asked for action. I'd be happy to make a motion that we do all of the actions that are up on the screen.
Second.
I think we've got, I think we're all on that same page, are we not? Yeah, okay.
Thank
You got direction?
We need a vote.
Okay.
We need a vote.
There's a motion and a second.
Good. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we will stand in recess till 1:30. Thank you all.